Part 10. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 91. Feng Shui continued to sit cross-legged, while Wu Yu and the others left respectfully. The matter was done, and Wu Yu was excited. He was looking forward to the challenge of the immortal Fate Valley. After Wu Yu left, Feng Shui Yafang opened his eyes, looked at the spacious hall, and murmured, "The spiritual energy fountain has brought our Tongtian sword sect into troubled times, and all parties are ready to make moves. It seems that I will become a benevolent person if I don't succeed. This road is either life or death, there is no other choice. It's hard for these children to have to endure such challenges at such a young age. Among my disciples, the one who is most like me is Wanchen Yuxiu. The most disobedient one is Yang Qing, the most carefree one is Mo Shishu, the one who respects me the most is Yan Li, and the one who makes me the most I'm curious, it's Wu Yu." Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. The disaster is coming. I hope they can escape this disaster. It would be best to be stronger. You are going to enter the Immortal Fate Valley tomorrow, but you don't know anything about the Immortal Fate Valley yet. Su Yanli didn't let him leave as soon as he came out of Tongtian Peak. "Let's all go to Junior Brother's Kishan Peak. It just so happens that we can make some preparations for him this night. After all, entering the Immortal Fate Valley is also a big event. Although Mo Shishu was carefree, he was still responsible when encountering major events. Wu Yu also wanted to find out, so he took them to the Great Holy Palace. Tisk, tisk, I said, Junior Brother, you really don't know how to enjoy it. There are hundreds of job quotas, and you have chosen all the men. Look at my Feng Hua Shui Peak. They are all beauties. They are a feast for the eyes every day." Mo Shishu waved the folding fan and strode into the Great Holy Palace. "Junior Brother is different from you, don't teach him bad things," Su Yanli said. "Ha ha." Wu Yu could only smile. In fact, the relationship between the two of them was really good, but it did not involve love. It was rare to have such a sincere brother-sister relationship. It's not like Zhao Changtian and Yi Qingfeng have been chasing Lan Shuiyu fiercely. "Okay, stop making trouble." Su Yanli sat upright and began to speak. Xuanhuan Valley itself is a mist-filled place. It is completely covered by gray fog. It is difficult to see clearly things 10 feet away. This is a danger. You need to remember it and be mentally prepared. Clear. Second point, Xuanhuan Valley is very large. The terrain is complex. It is surrounded by mountains, canyons, and even deep valleys. Under the deep valleys, there are many underground spaces. In the case of gray fog, it is easy to get lost, or even trapped inside and can't get out. Remember. Wu Yu listened very carefully. Su Yanli continued, "The third point is that in the Immortal Valley, because of the year-round rain, the underground yin qi often surges up, so many poisonous insects, such as scorpions and spiders, are everywhere. Some species are extremely toxic and can even kill in the poison condensation qi realm. You have to be careful about those poisonous insects." If she didn't say anything, Wu Yu would ignore those poisonous insects. Once bitten, although it might not be fatal, it would still be very troublesome. The first 3 points are actually nothing. They exist in any environment. The fourth point is that you must have seen the mechanism in the Taoist Tower. Every year when the Immortal Fate Valley opens, some machine beasts will be put in to interfere with, prevent you from obtaining the immortal roots and increase the test for you. Those mechanism beasts are specially designed for the test of Immortal Fate Valley. Most of them can release Taoist magic, such as the 5 elements giant bear on the 4th floor of the Dao Pagoda. It's pretty simple. It seems that this test is really not easy to deal with. There are many competitors, but the sect only has a few immortal roots, so they join these tests to select the strongest ones, so that they can convince the crowd and all disciples have equal opportunities to compete. This is very important, Otherwise ordinary disciples will lose confidence and the sect will collapse. There is also a fifth point. This is very simple. That is the competition between fellow disciples. This is the biggest challenge. For example, you will definitely encounter difficulties from Lan Shuiyu. You are the first to come to Tongtian Sword Sect, and Lan Shuiyu has been in the Tongtian Sword Sect since he was a child. I grew up here and have met many disciples, so I'm afraid there will be many people who make things difficult for you, but because of your status, they won't mess around. There are 5 points in total, so there are quite a few challenges. Moreover, we are going in tomorrow. Wu Yu organized his thoughts and remembered these trouble spots. At this time, Su Yanli continued, actually, I don't think the first 5 points are too scary. The really scary thing is the sixth and last point. What? Seeing Su Yanli's serious expression, Wu Yu pricked up his ears. Su Yanli said, because of this, although I got the immortal root last year, I was also injured and it took a while to recover. You were in confinement at that time, so you didn't know. It's quite serious, Mo Shishu interjected. What is it? Su Yanli thought about it and said, they are demons. Of course, they are demons that have been suppressed and tamed. They are usually locked up in the Demon Suppression Tower. When the Immortal Fate Valley is opened, 1, 2, or even 3 will be put in. The 4 heads form the ultimate test for the disciples. Demon. Wu Yu was very familiar with demons. Wanking was a snake demon who had eaten bad people in Wu City. The purpose of the existence of the mortal protector of the country was to kill demons. Unexpectedly, the Tongtian Sword Sect also has suppressed demons, but they are suppressed and tamed, and they should be the kind that dare not cause trouble again. Why do you do this? Wu Yu asked. He thought that if it was a demon, it would be very dangerous. As far as he knew, demons were all mortals. Cultivators were their biggest enemies. All demons hated cultivators. If they were not cultivators, they would definitely be able to run rampant in the world. Su Yanli said, this involves the training of disciples. To be honest, most of our disciples are usually in the Green Mountains. They rarely go out to really kill demons. But killing demons is the task and mission of our cultivators. In order to prevent us from going out in the future and having some experience and preparation when we really see demons, we put these demons in. Every disciple who wants to get the immortal root needs to endure the fear brought by demons. Only by seeing more demons, fighting more, and even killing them, can we have the ability to really kill demons and eliminate demons. When we meet real demons in the future, we can fight boldly. When people talk about Xuanhuan Valley, the most feared thing is the demons. This is not a little demon without demon essence. These demons are very difficult to deal with, Su Yanli reminded. The so-called little demon, Wan Qing counts, and the ape demon counts during the entrance examination. It's just that the little demon who has just transformed is not much different from mortal warriors. Those old demons who have practiced for hundreds, thousands, and thousands of years are really scary. I remember these 6 points. Wu Yu has learned about demons. The first change from a beast to a demon is to open up the spiritual wisdom and become a demon. As for the transformation, it is erratic. Some can transform as soon as the spiritual wisdom is opened, while some cannot do it for hundreds of years, and it is related to the type of demon. It is said that the weaker the blood of the beast, the easier it is to transform. Some transform before they have demon essence, and some after they have demon essence. Wan Qing can transform into a human before he has demon essence. Generally speaking, demons need to practice for 100 years before they can have demon essence and form a demon essence core, which is similar to the source of law. Of course, some demons have strong bloodlines and may have demon essence in a few decades. The cultivation of demons is basically calculated in years. Generally, a demon that is 100 years old is considered a great demon. The demon absorbs the spiritual energy of the sun, moon, heaven, and earth, and forms a demon essence core every 100 years. After 1,000 years, 10 demon essence cores are formed, which are called 1,000-year-old demons. If they condense into demon pills, they will be even more terrifying, comparable to golden pill immortals. Not to mention the 1,000-year-old demons, the 100-year-old great demons are difficult enough. Of course, the 100-year-old great demons and 1,000-year-old demons are all titles of strength, not really cultivated for 100 years. Some demons may not have the cultivation of a 100-year-old demon in 1,000 years, and may not be able to produce demon essence. For some demons, even 10 years is enough. To form a demon pill, 1,000 years is not enough, and many encounters are required. Some of the 100-year-old great demons put into the immortal Fate Valley may have 500 years of cultivation, and their years are much longer than those of Feng Xiu Cliff. Demons, compared to cultivators, have much worse aptitude, but their lifespan is much longer than cultivators. As long as they are not killed, they can live for hundreds of years. After learning about demons, it was almost dawn. Wu Yu packed up and prepared to set off. Let's go to Xuanhuan Valley. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ public account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read first, and get the latest information at any time. /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 92. Immortal Valley. When Wu Yu and 3 others rode the crane to a wilderness outside the Immortal Fate Valley, the disciples participating in the Battle of the Immortal Fate Valley were basically all here. With the appearance of the spiritual energy fountain, many people have achieved breakthroughs. This year, many people have arrived at the 4th level of the Qi condensation realm. Therefore, the total number of participants is more than last year. As soon as the crane landed, Su Yanli analyzed it for him. Wu Yu looked around and saw that there were about a dozen people. It's okay. About half of them are at the 4th level of Qi condensation realm, and half are at the 5th level of Qi condensation realm. The 4th level of Qi condensation realm is the 4th level. It's quite difficult to get the immortal root. Su Yanli was able to obtain the immortal root at the 4th level of Qi condensation realm because of her ability. For ascetics, immortal roots are really important. Ahead is the Immortal Fate Valley. Looking at it, it is a group of mountains covered by gray fog. From this position, it is impossible to see what is inside the vast mountains. Faintly, the roar of distant beasts could be heard coming from over there. The wind blowing over there is mixed with a kind of moisture, and there is a fishy smell in the moisture. Although this place is adjacent to the Bibo Mountains, it is like heaven or hell. Wu Yu's unexpected arrival naturally attracted the attention of everyone present. Among the crowd was Lan Shuiyu, who was wearing a dark blue sword style, her long hair tied into a ponytail, and carrying 2 swords. She was having an affair with the person next to her. She was talking and laughing, like she was surrounded by blue flowers. When she suddenly saw Wu Yu, her expression instantly froze. Not only was the incident in Duobao Valley not clarified yesterday, but it actually made people think that they were in trouble. Before Wu Yu came, someone mentioned this matter. As a result, Lan Shuiyu scolded him, and naturally he also scolded Wu Yu for being a shameless person. Look, the shameless person you just mentioned is here. Tisk tisk. Next to the blue water moon, stood a graceful and slender woman. Her long hair was slightly curly and fell on her plump chest. She was wearing the loose red robe was slit at the hem, revealing a pair of long, white, and round legs. Her red lips were alluring, and her eyes were charming. She was obviously a beauty, especially her provocative smile, which made people notice her even more. In fact, except for the direct disciples of the headmaster and the guardian, those who can cultivate to the 4th level of Qi condensation realm or above are at least twice as old as Xuanli and the others, so the Qi condensation disciples around them don't look young. The woman in the red dress next to Lan Shuiyu has a more mature charm. Shut up, Ni Hong I. Lan Shuiyu's eyes turned cold. At this time, Su Yanli and Mo Shishu had already brought Wu Yu to them. Wu Yu, this is not the place you should be, get out of here. Lan Shuiyu hated him the most. Once he was nearby, everyone would whisper to each other. Yesterday, Wu Yu defeated Lan Shuiyu with a stick, and the news spread throughout the Bibo Mountains, causing Lan Shuiyu to lose face. Nowadays, many people in the Tongtian sword sect admire Wu Yu's peerless talent, and they have long overshadowed her Lan Shuiyu. Lan Shuiyu had just finished speaking, but unexpectedly, Wu Yu and the others passed her directly, and no one cared about her at all. Before crossing her, there was a river ahead. There was a person sitting on the edge of the river, and several middle-aged people, men and women, stood there. These are the helpers of Elder Shentu. They are at about the 7th level of the Qi condensation realm. They are almost ready to become elders. They are the mainstay of the sword section. Before coming, Su Yanli had already introduced Wu Yu. In the Tongtian sword sect, regardless of seniority, those who are above the 6th level of physical training can become an outer disciple. After condensing Qi, they can become core disciples. Those who are above the 8th level of Qi condensation can become an elder. As for the positions of head teacher, guardian teacher, 5th elder, law enforcement elder, etc., they are not only based on strength, but also on qualifications and conduct. At the 7th level of Qi condensation realm, he is already the strongest core disciple. The entire Tongtian sword sect, plus the 5 elders and the law enforcement elders, there are nearly 20 elders in total. They are our strongest strength. Of course, with the spiritual energy fountain, if it is successful, there may be more in a few decades. More than 50. These seniors in the Qi condensation realm, assisting Elder Shentu, have been stationed around the Immortal Valley to prevent outsiders and demons from entering our territory. We can practice with peace of mind on weekdays only because of their protection. Therefore, Su Yanli respected them very much. The 3 of them stepped forward. One of them, Mo Shishu, was still carefree. He looked around and whistled when he saw beautiful disciples. Su Yanli and Wu Yu saluted those few and said, Su Yanli, Wu Yu, pay homage to Elder Shentu and other senior brothers and sisters. Elder Shentu was sitting by the river. He was wearing a shabby Taoist robe and an equally shabby Taoist hat on his head. He was thin and stooped, with wrinkled skin. He looked very old. At this time, Elder Shentu turned around. His head was full of white hair, his eyes were cloudy, and he was even blind in one eye. Fortunately, he was a kind-hearted person with a warm smile on his face, just like a very ordinary old man. In the Qi condensation realm, one has a lifespan of about 200 years. If one fails to condense it into a golden elixir before the end of his lifespan, his flesh and blood will wither and his body will die. Elder Shentu has not yet been able to achieve a golden elixir. Obviously, there are not many days left in the future. Death is a fate that most ascetics cannot escape. Unless, become an immortal. Wu Yu noticed that Elder Shentu was holding a fishing rod in his hand. 3 transparent thin lines extended from the tip of the fishing rod. The thin lines were not plunged into the river with fish hooks, but spread infinitely, even reaching the fairy land. If you go inside the valley, I don't know how long it is. If you look closely, you can see the flow of mana in the fishing rod, and there is a vague presence of a weapon array. Obviously this is a magic weapon, and it is a very powerful magic weapon. You are Xiaofeng's new disciple. You are pretty good. Elder Shentu looked at Wu Yu with his cloudy eyes and nodded secretly. Elder Shentu, although he has only activated 2 magic sources, his physical body is powerful and he can fight at the 4th level of the retreating Qi realm. Master wants him to enter the immortal Fate Valley. What do you think of Elder Shentu? Su Yanli said respectfully. Said. Xiaofeng said it, that's fine. Elder Shentu grinned. This seemingly ordinary old man turned out to be the head of the 5 elders, and he did not embarrass Wu Yu at all, so Wu Yu respectfully thanked him. Elder Shentu was also very happy that he was so polite and said, Wu Yu, I wish you success. When they heard the news that Wu Yu was also going in, everyone there became restless. Mo Shisha glanced at them and said, when the headmaster and Elder Shentu make a public decision, do you grandsons want to rebel? One of the disciples retorted, the sect has sect rules, how can we mess around? What, are you afraid that Wu Yu will steal your immortal roots? You are at the 5th level of Qi condensation realm, do you want to lose face? Mo Shishu stepped forward. The disciple was asking for trouble, but when Lan Shuiyu saw Lan Shuiyu, he didn't object. Then he closed his mouth. Wu Yu looked at Lan Shuiyu and saw that she seemed to be fine, with an indifferent expression. She knew I was going in, but she didn't object. It seems she wanted to make me suffer inside. Wu Yu understood. It was said that there were still 1 or 2 people who had not arrived, and everyone had to wait a little longer. Su Yanli said softly, have you seen the 3 thin lines of Elder Shentu's demon fishing rod? I saw it. Those 3 thin threads are tied to 3 monsters respectively. They are all century-old monsters and have been put into the Immortal Valley. Those 3 monsters are always under the control of Elder Shentu, so they can't kill you, but you still have to be careful, especially be careful of one of the black bear spirits. I was injured by this black bear spirit last year. Black bear spirit, it should be a black bear that became a monster and had a monster essence. This black bear spirit has been practicing for more than 600 years. He is much older than Elder Shentu. He has 6 demon cores, which is barely equivalent to the 6th level of Qi condensation realm. It requires several 5th level Qi condensation realm to besieged. Only if you are a threat to him, if you are alone and encounter a black bear spirit, it is best to run away immediately. Su Yanli warned again. She was thoughtful and worried about Wu Yu. Wu Yu was new here, so she wanted to tell Wu Yu everything that needed attention. That's not something I can deal with. 6 demon essence cores were estimated to be equivalent to 6 magic sources, so Wu Yu did not dare to confront this black bear spirit. One more thing. Su Yanli pointed at Lan Shuiyu and said, Elder Shentu's rule is that when entering the Immortal Fate Valley, no more than 4 people can form a team, so did you see that 3 people gathered next to Lan Shuiyu? They are at the 5th level of Qi condensation realm before she left. When they entered Immortal Fate Valley, they were a team. When the time comes, the efficiency of searching for immortal roots will be much higher. This should be arranged by the Supreme Protector for Lan Shuiyu, but it is impossible for our master to arrange helpers for you. You know your master's temper. Feng Xiai was very arrogant, so of course she would not arrange anyone to protect Wu Yu. So, if Lan Shuiyu brings 3 5th levels of Qi condensation realm, he will definitely give me a good look if he meets me. Wu Yu looked over there. Next to Lan Shuiyu was a beautiful woman in a red dress. There were 2 male disciples next to her. One was wearing green clothes and the other was wearing blue clothes. They looked close to 30 years old, but were actually about 30 years old. Over 60. These 3 at the 5th level of Qi condensation realm are no less than Su Yanli, but they don't have immortal roots. Wu Yu decided to try to avoid Lan Shuiyu in Xianyuan Valley. After a while, everyone arrived, and Elder Shentu's helpers began to distribute a kind of talisman called the Red Flame Soaring Talisman. The clouds and fog in Xianyuan Valley are too heavy. You have to activate the Red Flame Soaring Talisman to give birth to soaring fire, so that they can see it and save you. There are 2 situations when using the Red Flame Soaring Talisman. The first is to withdraw, and the second is to encounter a fatal encounter. Crisis. No matter what it is, if you light up the red flame sky talisman yourself, you will have to come back next year. Xuanhuan Valley stipulates that no killing is allowed. Anyone who kills his compatriots will be punished by the section. Don't worry about this. Wu Yu understood that although Lan Shuiyu shouted to kill him, he did not dare to take his own life. After all, the Wu Yu now is not the Situ Minglang back then. Here we go. As soon as the red flame soaring talisman came down, Elder Shentu stood up. Whoever grabs the immortal root first will light the red flame soaring talisman. I will personally take you out. If you want to withdraw, you can light it. Whoever wants to kill you must light it. Whoever kills you, I will kill him. Elder Shentu explained clearly in one sentence, and also shocked the dozen core disciples who were ready to make a move. Whoosh! At this time, Elder Shentu waved the demon fishing rod. A thin line and a fishhook stretched out from the demon fishing rod. The fishhook hooked the clothes of one of the disciples. As Elder Shentu waved, the disciple exclaimed and was thrown into a certain location in the Immortal Valley. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ public account 17K, ID, Love 17K, to read first and get the latest information at any time. /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 93. This operation is to disperse more than 10 disciples to different places from the beginning. Of course, you can go in groups, just don't exceed 4 people. In fact, according to Elder Shentu's rules, the two of them were not allowed to be together. Later, Lan Huayun ordered him to relax. In fact, it was because Lan Huayun was worried about his disciple that he changed the rules. Therefore, when Lan Shuiyu entered the Immortal Fate Valley, there were 3 people to protect her. At this time, Lan Shuiyu and the other 4 shook hands with each other and formed a string. The fishhook of Elder Shentu's demon fishing rod was hooked on Lan Shuiyu's collar, and the 4 of them were thrown into the fairyland together. Valley. Now you. Wu Yu was alone, and was almost thrown into the Immortal Valley by Elder Shentu. He soared into the clouds and missed for a moment, and then fell rapidly, penetrating through layers of gray-yellow mist, falling downwards, and was about to hit the rocks behind him. The fishing line suddenly tightened, allowing Wu Yu to land safely. It's done. There were only 3 fishing lines left on Elder Shentu's demon fishing rod, which belonged to the 3 demons. Elder Shentu, let's leave first, Su Yanli said. Go ahead. The Elder Shentu waved his hand and returned to sit by the river. He looked at the vast Immortal Fate Valley with heavy eyes, and then waved his hand. The middle-aged core disciples next to him understood and dispersed, rushing into the fog of the Immortal Fate Valley. However, they are guarding the surroundings of the Immortal Fate Valley to prevent outsiders from entering the Immortal Fate Valley. My deadline is approaching, and the future of Tongtian Sword Sect will be left in the hands of these children. Looking at the Immortal Valley, Elder Shentu sighed. The humidity around me was so heavy that I felt uncomfortable after just a few steps. Moreover, the ground was very soft, as if it could sink into the ground at any time. As for the surroundings, the gray fog lived up to its reputation. It was so thick that with Wu Yu's eyesight, most of his field of vision was obscured. It was difficult to see clearly anything about 10 feet away. The sound of insects buzzing around me was too dense, which also greatly affected my hearing. From this place, the sun could not be seen in the sky at all, so Wu Yu was a little confused and didn't know which way to go. Sure enough, it's like a maze inside. Moreover, the terrain is also very complicated. There is a swamp in front of you, and not far away there are low mountains, deep valleys, deep ditches, and even cliffs and cold pools. If a mortal is inside, it will be difficult to move even an inch. Especially in some deep ditches, if you accidentally step on the air, you don't know how far you have to roll to stabilize. Wu Yu felt like he had entered a dense forest, with wet branches and leaves everywhere. Swish, swish, swish. There are tiny sounds all around. Protective fire. He used a heretical technique and spread a layer of flames over his body. The light became brighter and many poisonous insects that jumped on him were directly burned to death. As Wu Yu walked this way, many spiders, scorpions, and many poisonous snakes fell on the ground. All kinds of poisons are really endless in this dark environment. Purification technique. From time to time, water is drawn from the air to wash away the ashes of poisonous insects on the body. Where is the immortal root? He searched carefully. This was the only purpose of his coming in. You must find it before others, and then light the red flame soaring talisman. After wandering in this dense forest for about half an hour, Wu Yu found nothing. Wu Yu felt that this place should be regarded as the outskirts of the immortal Fate Valley, and the immortal roots must have appeared in the depths, so he quickened his pace and rushed inside. After a while, he heard human voices. He was afraid of Lan Shuiyu and the others, so he didn't dare to get close, but after hearing it, he found that it was not Lan Shuiyu and the others. Who's over there? Wu Yu's presence was discovered over there, and they walked over quickly. They should be two people together. When they came to Wu Yu's eyes, Wu Yu found that the person who spoke was a fat Taoist priest, wearing a gorgeous Taoist robe. Not to mention some gossip, swords, and other groups on it, it looks like the clothes of a certain member of the Communist Party of China. The most eye-catching thing is the green hat on the head, which is green and very conspicuous. Wu Yu remembered that this fat man was the one who was late today and was the last to arrive. Next to the fat man, there was a woman wearing a plain sword robe. She had delicate features and looked a little weak. When she saw Wu Yu, her eyes suddenly brightened. These two should be at the 4th level of Qi condensation realm. Wu Yu was more afraid of the core disciples at the 5th level of Qi condensation realm. He couldn't feel the strong sense of crisis in these two people, so he concluded that their abilities were not that strong among everyone. So he felt a little relieved. "Oh, it's you, Wu Yu," the fat Taoist priest swaggered, looking excited when he saw Wu Yu. "You know me? Damn it, is there anyone in the world who doesn't know you?" The fat Taoist priest was familiar with himself. Regardless of the competitive relationship between him and Wu Yu, he stepped forward, patted his chest generously, and said, "My lord, my name is Tang Basian. Yes, it means dominating the world, arrogant, right? As my name suggests, I have a very domineering personality and strength. Am I qualified to accompany you?" Tang Basian, as soon as he saw Wu Yu alone, wanted to join him. He is quite clever. After all, Wu Yu has a special status and has a high chance of encountering immortal roots. This Tang Basian didn't look like a bad guy, but Wu Yu still liked to be alone, so he shook his head and refused. Tang Basian became anxious and said, "Wu Yu, I know you are very powerful, but you don't know the rules of Xuanhuan Valley. Elder Shentu doesn't allow people to form alliances outside, but we can do it inside. Besides, everyone it's a matter of competition. Of course, the fewer people there are, the better. Every time the immortal Fate Valley is opened, the disciples who come in don't look for the immortal roots first, but first look for the disciples who are alone. Whoever is alone will be bullied. I was forced to ignite the red flame soaring talisman and was eliminated. So Ci and I are just two people, and we are both at the 4th level of Qi condensation realm. Now I also want to find more partners. It is good for you and good for us." Ah! Wu Yu thought about it for a moment and realized that his abilities were at the bottom among a group of disciples. If he accidentally encountered other people's teams and was surrounded by himself, he would be easily eliminated. "Wu Yu, just think of it as helping us. The female disciple Susi's voice was very soft, and such a delicate tone made it difficult for people to refuse. Okay, let's go together, but if we encounter immortal roots, I won't give them to you, Wu Yu said. You are a direct disciple, we don't dare to compete with you, Tang Basian chuckled. He felt more relieved after adding a high-status person to the team, and said, I have been to Xuanhuan Valley twice, Susi sister, Wu Yu, come with me. Susi said, I have been in here 3 times. I know how to go deep into the Immortal Valley, but you still have to listen to me. Tang Basian immediately lowered his head and said with a sneer, okay, of course I listen to Sister Susi. Sister Susi, whatever she says is right. He seemed to be pursuing Susi, so he followed her lead in everything he did. At the same time, he also pleased her and kept making her laugh. Susi led the way. Tang Basian said with satisfaction, I have worked hard for so many years and finally achieved results. Today, Sister Susi is finally willing to talk to me and is in a group with me. Then you want me to join you so that I won't disturb your world, Wu Yu said. Tang Basian smiled and said, you don't understand this, that, it is undeniable that the 2 of us are still too weak. It is always good to have a few more people in the team. I don't want to act like a hero and cause everyone is eliminated together, so we must get the immortal root and give it to Susi today. It seems that he is quite self-aware. However, Wu Yu discovered that although Tang Basian was very attentive, Susi did not like him. He only agreed on the surface, which made Tang Basian happy in his heart. Maybe she didn't want to be alone, so she gave Tang Basian a chance. It's a pity that Tang Basian didn't notice it, and thought that starting from today, Susi was finally moved by his offensive. Sister Susi, this shouldn't be the direction to go deep into the Immortal Valley, right? After walking for a while, Tang Basian looked around. I've come in more times than you, just trust me and don't say any more, Susi complained. Okay, I will listen to you. You are right. Tang Basian did not dare to make her angry and quickly admitted his mistake. Along with them, Wu Yu also inquired about some information. For example, the woman next to Lan Shuiyu was called Ni Hong Ai and she was very powerful. Over time, Wu Yu and Tang Basian got to know each other a lot, and found that the fat Taoist priest was kind-hearted, very funny, and good at making people happy, but he was a little infatuated with Susi. It's not surprising that Susi was on her way to find the immortal root. Later, Wu Yu and Tang Basian basically called themselves brothers, chatting and laughing, with Susi leading the way. Bishuatan. Here we are. Lan Shuiyu stretched out her waist, showing off her exquisite figure. The 2 male disciples next to her glanced at her and swallowed unconsciously. Close your dog eyes. Ni Hong Ai stepped forward and said coldly. The 2 male disciples quickly averted their eyes. Ni Hong Ai then smiled with satisfaction, took Lan Shuiyu's arm and said, we finally arrived at the Bishui pond, now we're just waiting for Susi to come over. Lan Shuiyu said, this elder Shentu is really disgusting. What kind of rules are there? If it weren't for him, the 5 of us would have come in directly, and we wouldn't have to gather with Susi in this blue water pond. She raised her head and looked at the disciple in green, and said, I asked, when did you hook up with that Susi, and why was it so silent? The Tsingyi disciple smiled confidently and said, in the past 2 days, as soon as I made a move, she immediately followed me. I think she has been fascinated by me for a long time. Pull him down. If we don't have to protect your woman, why should we take a detour? Ni Hong Ai said displeased. Be more patient. After all, I also try to protect Shuiyu. The only requirement is to bring Susi along with me, the Tsingyi disciple said. Do you still have to teach that guy named Tang Basian a lesson? You guys are really awesome. You tricked that fat man into bringing you Susi safely here. When they arrive, you still have to torture them, which makes people sad and hurts your body. Ni Hong I rolled her eyes. The Tsingyi disciple smiled coldly and said, "This Tangbasian toad wants to eat swan meat. I have wanted to teach him a lesson for a long time, but I just haven't had the chance. When he sends Susi over, we will tell him the fact that we have become a Taoist couple, torture him again, take away his magical weapon, and throw him into this green pool to teach him a lesson. Resolve it as soon as possible. Don't waste my time. I still have to find Wu Yu." When Lan Shuiyu thought of him, her heart boiled with anger. At 9 o'clock in the evening, Dragon Blood God of War updated the 25,000-word finale, which is equivalent to 10 chapters. The ending, written by Madman, is quite satisfying, and it can be considered a happy ending. Thank you all for liking Dragon's Blood over the past 3 years. The supporting roles of book friends, Tangbasian and Susi are here. Friends who want supporting roles, please come to the book review area of 17K to leave a book review. To apply for supporting roles, you can add the Madman's WeChat, Fengqingjiang 17K, or search, Fengqingyang. Click the menu Tunshan G to enter the book review area. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ public account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read first, and get the latest information at any time. /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 94. Chapter 93. Gathering in Bishuatan. I really admire you. It is said that you have the courage to come into this immortal fate valley after you have gathered 2 magic sources. However, your magic power is weak after all, so if you follow me and Sister Susi, we can also provide you with some. Take care of me. Tangbasian kept chattering along the way and was very talkative. Na Susi didn't pay much attention to him, but he also spoke cheerfully. Anyway, when I find a fairy root this time and give it to Susi, she will definitely agree to be my Taoist companion. Remember the domain name of this website: Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow. Getting married is what mortals say. Ascetics seek like-minded people to walk the road to immortality together. They support each other and rely on each other. They are the legendary couples of gods and immortals. However, due to different qualifications and different Tao in the heart, it is quite difficult to find a person of the opposite sex that completely suits you. If one person dies in the Qi condensation state and the Tao disappears, the other person has a bright future. If they are separated in life or death, the mood of both parties will be different. Great impact. Therefore, you must be careful when choosing a Taoist partner. If you choose a suitable partner, they will benefit each other. If you choose an inappropriate partner, they will harm each other. Therefore, most Taoists, in order to avoid risks and stay away from love and hatred, prefer to be alone and yearn for the Great Road. Wu Yu had just set foot on this avenue and didn't have much idea about it yet. The love between children depends on fate. At least he doesn't have anyone in his heart who can hold his hand and grow old with him. Su Yanli is very beautiful and immortal, and sometimes she can make Wu Yu's heart beat. But more often, she is a senior sister. Wu Yu respects her, but he doesn't have that kind of heartbeat. Poof. Several blue poisonous snakes came and were torn apart by Susi with a long sword. Her magic weapon was called the light-splitting sword. There were 2 large weapon arrays. Compared with Wu Yu's demon-subduing stick, be good. At this time, they were walking into a stone forest with jagged rocks. Buzz. Suddenly, the ground shook, as if their footsteps had touched some mechanism. Click. Several strange rocks in front of them were smashed into pieces by the huge force, and there was a sudden roar of a beast. Wu Yu and others were shocked to see that it turned out to be a giant bear several feet tall. It was dark yellow, made of wood and metal, and was extremely damaged. Of course, this is not a real bear. Except for monsters, real bears cannot grow so big. This is the mechanism beast 5 elements giant bear. Wu Yu didn't meet the 5 elements giant bear at the pagoda tower, but he met it here. Roar. The 5 element giant bear possesses huge strength. With a push of its thick arm, all the strange rocks collapsed and fell to the ground. The giant beast took a step forward and rushed in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. Wu Yu suddenly saw that there were 5 formations on his chest. They were the mechanism formation. It was the movement of this mechanism formation that made the 5 elements giant bear transform from a dead thing to a living thing. Hey, let me show you how powerful Mr. Tang is. Wu Yu, Susi, you hide behind me. Tang Basian's eyes lit up. The chance to show off himself in front of the beauty had finally arrived. Tang Basian took out a dark red gourd from the bag of rice, gathered his magic power, and threw it into the sky, chanting, 5 elements giant bear, in front of you, Mr. Tang, why don't you bow down quickly? The gourd was filled with red color, and mist spewed out, shrouding the 5 element giant bear. When you were hit by my psychedelic mist, what you saw was a female bear, Tang Basian said proudly with his fat hands on his hips. Roar. Just when he thought he had mastered the 5 elements giant bear, there was a sudden roar of a beast, and the 5 elements giant bear rushed out of the psychedelic mist. What was even more terrifying was that its entire body seemed to be covered with a layer of golden armor and became hard. Incomparably, those huge claws slapped Tang Basian in the head, enough to turn Tang Basian into a pulp. Is this the use of the golden technique among the 5 elements? The wonders of the machine beast made Wu Yu very curious and in awe. Ah, Mr. Tang forgot, the machine beast will not be affected by my psychedelic gourd. For a moment, Tang Basian cried like a ghost and howled like a wolf, crawling and rolling back. Wu Yu and Susi basically moved at the same time. Wu Yu took out the demon subduing stick and stepped forward. The demon subduing stick seemed to be combined with him, and he could reach the gods with one stick. Bang! The hand of the 5 elements giant bear was pulled away by Wu Yu, and the Tang Ba genius was able to escape. At this time, Susi mastered the light-splitting sword, split out several lightsabers, and stabbed them all on one arm of the 5 elements giant bear. With a few puffs, Susi removed the arm. The 5 element giant bear with golden armor has an extremely hard body. She can do this, and she is worthy of being a strong person similar to Zhang Junlin. Oops! Wu Yu's movement was very strong. The two of them went up and down and trembled with the 5 elements giant bear for a while. The opponent was a dead thing after all. After a cup of tea, Wu Yu broke one of the 5 elements giant bear's legs. The machine beast collapsed, although it was still attacking. Power, but unable to move quickly, they just walk. There is no need to waste energy on this machine beast. Fighting will attract monsters. Let's go. Susi looked at Tang Basian coldly and left immediately. Tang Basian quickly got up and explained hurriedly, Sister Susi, don't get me wrong, I'm quite powerful. The key is that this machine beast is designed to defeat me. When the demon appears, I will beat the shit out of him. Wu Yu also followed, but he was a little confused. Obviously Susi has no interest in him at all, so why are you associating with him? Just to protect yourself. After much deliberation, this is the only reason. Judging from the battle just now, the strength of these two people is actually no less than Wu Yu. It was better to have 2 more people beside him than to walk alone in this strange place, so Wu Yu followed them. The 2 people were in front, one was smooth talking and the other was indifferent. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Master Tang, I must get the immortal root this time. There was a strong belief in Tang Basian's eyes, as well as a deep love for Na Susi. The team was still led by Na Susi, while Wu Yu was observing the immortal Fate Valley. It was a mysterious place, especially eerie. Because of the gray fog, it was difficult to figure out the direction. Without these two people to lead the way, he was probably going to be spinning in circles, let alone get the immortal route. It seems like we have stepped out of an area. Wu Yu stared at the surroundings and felt that the cold air seemed to be heavier, the ground under his feet was softer, and even poisonous insects crawled out of the mud under his feet. There was silence all around, only Tang Basian was talking. "Hey, Sister Susi, when we become a Taoist couple, let's have a child and let him practice Taoism too," Tang Basian thought beautifully. "Okay, but the premise is that you have to find the immortal route for me," Na Susi actually agreed. Wu Yu couldn't see her expression from behind and didn't know why he said such a thing. After a while, "We're here," Susi I stretched her waist, feeling relieved. Wu Yu looked ahead and saw that there seemed to be a high mountain blocking the front. There was water rushing down the mountain, forming a waterfall. The waterfall fell and formed a huge cold water pool at the foot of the mountain. Generally speaking, the running water would be warmer, but the water pool is extremely cold, and it always makes people feel like there is a giant ice beast underneath. It's strange, isn't this the Bishuatan? Sister Susi, the Bishuatan is at the edge of the Immortal Valley. Why did you lead the way to this edge? Tang Basian was stunned. Susi I glanced at him, then suddenly smiled coldly and said, "This is the clear water pool that I want to come to." "Why?" Tang Basian was still stunned. "You'll know right away." Susi I took several steps back. Wu Yu felt a crisis and was about to leave here, but it was already too late. It seemed that someone had been waiting for him here for a long time. At this time, he was surrounded from all directions. Unless Wu Yu could fly, he would not be able to escape at this time. Susi. Obviously, the other party is not only Yin Tang Tyrant, but he is also among their targets. As soon as he entered the Immortal Valley, he fell into a trap. Wu Yu's face looked a little ugly. Judging from the threat level of the besiegers, he roughly knew who they were. Blue Water Moon. Sure enough, 4 people gradually appeared from the clouds and mist, namely Lan Shuiyu, Ni Hong Ai, and disciples in King Ai and Lan Yi. Except for Lan Shuiyu, the other 3 have practiced Taoism for more than 60 years, or even close to the 5th level of the Qi condensation realm for 100 years, and have opened the 5 sources. What's going on? Why are you here? Tang Basian was completely confused. Wu Yu. When they saw Wu Yu, the expressions of Lan Shuiyu and the other 4 people were shocked at first, and then they smiled intriguingly. Surprise, huge surprise, Susi I, you are awesome, the disciple in green opened his arms. Susi I, who was not far away, smiled. She went over to hug him and said coquettishly, "Of course, I won't even look at it. Whose Taoist companion am I? I was planning to bring this lazy toad here to teach you a lesson, but I didn't expect to meet Wu Yu. It's just his own bad luck." From these words, Wu Yu finally understood the whole story. He understood what was going on between Susi I, the Xingyi disciple, and Tang Basian. It seemed that Tang Basian was tricked. Unfortunately, he was so infatuated that he was now fed to the dog. Susi I took advantage of him and accompanied him to the here. She was sent to meet her lover. The key was that after meeting, she had to torture him both physically and mentally. You. Taoist companion. Sure enough, Tang Basian collapsed on the ground, his face was miserable, and he was crying loudly, not to mention how miserable he was. You two are so annoying to deal with him. Lan Shuiyu was the leader here. She waved her hand and asked the disciple in green and Susi I to deal with Tang Basian. While she and the disciples in red and blue were together, they surrounded Wu Yu in a triangle. Susi I really gave me a big surprise. Wu Yu, it's because of your bad luck that God wants to send you to me. What happened in Duobao Valley yesterday was still vivid in her mind, and the humiliation made her angry. One night. Oh. The current situation is indeed not good for Wu Yu. but he looked at Tang Basian and felt that he was okay. This Tang Basian was really miserable. The Xingyi disciple and Susi attacked him mercilessly. They cut off one of Tang Basian's arms in a few strokes and killed him. He was thrown into the clear water pool, which really tortured him. The most terrifying thing was the hurt inside. You must be careful when choosing a Taoist companion. This is the conclusion Wu Yu drew from his experience. In desperation, Tang Basian used the red flame sky talisman and left. 5 people were actually surrounding him. At 1500 hours on time, the second update. I finished Dragon Blood War God last night. For those who haven't seen it, you can check it out. I saw that many people were moved by the ending and were reluctant to leave. I can only say thank you to everyone. In the afternoon, I will send some touching readers' comments to everyone through the QQ public account Fengqing Yang. The Dragon Blood God of War Extra Chapter Dragon Blood God of War will be updated on the Dragon Blood page and QQ official account. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F Follow the official QQ public account 17K, ID, Love 17K, to read first and get the latest information at any time /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 95. Tang Basian lit the red flame soaring talisman, and the flame soared into the sky. A thin line stretched out from outside the immortal Fate Valley and fished it away from the Bishui Pond. Elder Shentu's method was truly unbelievable. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. However, Wu Yu didn't pay attention here. As soon as he reached the second level of Qi Condensation Realm, he faced 2 4th-level Qi Condensation Realms and 3 5th-level Qi Condensation Realms. This kind of pressure was simply unimaginable. Lan Shuiyu chuckled, with a proud smile on her fair and delicate face. She winked at the people around her, and the 5 people surrounded her, getting closer and closer to Wu Yu. I didn't mean to provoke you, and I apologize to you in Duobao Valley. Do I still need to pursue you like this? Wu Yu has a sense of belonging to the Tongtian sword section. This is his second home. To be honest, he doesn't like internal fighting. Apologizing is useful? I'll kill you and then apologize to you, okay, Lan Shuiyu sneered, and several people nearby couldn't help but laugh. They were almost all the pride of heaven, surrounding Wu Yu, feeling in his heart it's extremely easy. Then what do you want? Now surrounded, Wu Yu was also thinking of a way. My junior brother Situ Minglang's hatred can only be avenged by taking your life. But you are lucky. I don't like Situ Minglang very much. It's just that you have made my master lose face. I have to let the master take care of this face, throw it away, and besides, you have to pay the price for your mouth. Lan Shuiyu put away her smile. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Do it? Such a great opportunity, how could she let Wu Yu delay? Whoosh. For a time, including Lan Shuiyu, there were a total of 6 magic weapon long swords facing Wu Yu, among which the charming neon red dress was the most terrifying. Her magic weapon long sword was a blood-colored sword, full of evil aura. Look at this woman's beauty and charisma, but when she makes a move, she becomes murderous. Most people who practice Taoism are fierce and domineering. 5 people taking action together would be a disaster. 1 Dragon Panzu. Wu Yu burst into flames. He was facing Lan Shuiyu. Perhaps everyone thought he would try to kidnap Lan Shuiyu to escape. However, at the moment he made his move, he suddenly changed direction. The beast burst into flames, shooting into the sky and bombarding Susi. Get out of the way! Wu Yu shouted loudly. Divine dragons are coiled around, giant pillars lift up into the sky. This 9-dragon pan pillar technique, coupled with the huge strength of Wu Yu's physical body, is indeed powerful. I am afraid that even Lan Shuiyu and Susi can't stop it. Snort. Upon seeing this, Na Susi quickly retreated and dodged away. Wu Yu took this opportunity to rush out. However, he still underestimated these core disciples who had been cultivating Taoism for decades. The two long swords of the disciples in green and blue came intertwined and instantly blocked Wu Yu's path. Broken hand. The sword blades of the two long swords struck Wu Yu's arms like tears. Tear. There were two wounds on Wu Yu's arms that were deep enough to show the bone. The blood seeped out and immediately dyed the clothes red. Such a tragic wound was so painful that Wu Yu took a breath of air. This was still his indestructible body, which was tough enough. The purpose of the two fifth-level Qi condensation realm disciples was to cut off his arm. What a surging mana! He is indeed a rival on the same level as Su Yanli. Rainbow Ling. Just when Wu Yu was forced back, and his hands were injured and could not hold the demon subduing stick tightly, the Ni Hong I smiled faintly, stretched out his hand and threw it, and a colorful drill flew to the top of Wu Yu's head like a long snake. The colorful drill suddenly falling down, you can vaguely see the existence of the Dharma weapon array, which is obviously a kind of magic weapon. Whoosh! Before Wu Yu had time to react, rainbow caltrops suddenly fell from the sky. They were like steel ropes, completely entangling his hands, feet, and torso. With terrifying power, they entangled Wu Yu to death. Even the demon subduing stick clanged and fell on him. On the ground. Break. He tensed up the strength of his whole body, roared angrily, and even transformed into the immortal ape transformation. His body grew stronger, and the rainbow water chestnut also grew larger, and it still entangled Wu Yu to death. There is no doubt that this magical weapon is very clever, and it is considered very powerful. With the rare magic weapon, combined with Ni Hong I's fifth level of Qi condensation realm magic power, it is indeed difficult for Wu Yu at his current level to compete with such a core disciple who has been practicing for nearly 100 years. I still want to escape, haha. Ni Hong I stood in front of him and made a magic formula. Suddenly, the rainbow diamond tightened, like a steel bar cutting into his flesh and blood, giving Wu Yu a terrible pain, as if he was going to be pinched by the rainbow diamond in the next moment. Minced meat. Well. Wu Yu knew that this might be bad. But he wasn't afraid. As long as he didn't die, he would have a chance for revenge. He didn't want to have this grudge, but it was obviously just wishful thinking. Lan Shuiyu, if you torment me today, don't regret it in the future. The immortal ape transformation state consumed too much mana. Fortunately, Wu Yu faded away. His eyes were calm, with a hint of anger, staring at Lan, who had a relaxed smile on his face. Water moon. Ha. Everyone around laughed, and Lan Shuiyu even laughed so hard that she suddenly retracted her smile, showing a trace of resentment. She strode up to Wu Yu and looked at Qingyi and Lanyi behind Wu Yu. The disciple said, "Let him kneel down for me." Yes. Although there were 3 people at the 5th level of the Qi condensation realm here, they all listened to Lan Shuiyu. At this time, the 2 of them held down one of Wu Yu's shoulders, kicked Wu Yu's calf with their toes, and pressed down, immediately letting go. Wu Yu's knees hit the ground. The man has gold at his knees. Wu Yu didn't kneel to many people in his life. My former father, Sun Wudao, Feng Shuiya. However, these are the people Wu Yu is grateful for. This kneeling created a fire in his heart. At this moment, he suddenly raised his head. There was a violent anger in his eyes, which was like an animal's eyes. Lan Shuiyu even took a step back. It is indeed difficult to struggle with the 5th level of the 3 major Qi condensation realms. On the road of building a road, there is no smooth sailing, no one is not humiliated. This scene is normal. Wu Yu expected it in his heart, but it does not mean that he will suffer the consequences. Lan Shuiyu, now we are enemies, Wu Yu growled. Enemy? Are you qualified? Lan Shuiyu smiled sweetly, reaching out to slap Wu Yu. This is what she said: Wu Yu must kneel down, slap her, and tear her mouth apart. You can't just accept that slap. However, there were two disciples holding him down behind him, with the magical weapon Rainbow Ling wrapped around them. The man in red clothes next to him said, Shuiyu, this guy is not teasing you. If you really want to relieve your anger and make him regret his life, I will cut off his life. If you are ashamed, my sister can do it for you. Lan Shuiyu paused with her palm, and when Ni Hong Ai finished speaking, she said coquettishly, Sister Hong Ai is really going too far, but if you want to do this, I won't stop you. Of course, I'll slap him in the mouth first. Wu Yu listened to their conversation. He had a deeper understanding of cultivating together. Both of these two are beauties, but their attacks are so ruthless. Maybe they are not evil people, but along the way of cultivating immortals, they compete with all living things. As the saying goes, the jungle eats the strong. Now I am weak, even if they cut me into pieces, it would still be reasonable. If I were strong, it would be more reasonable to kill them here. Perhaps, at this time, he understood the meaning of that sentence better. Practice is plundering, only the strong can be chivalrous. Without strength, how can there be chivalry? Lan Shuiyu's slap made Wu Yu extremely firm in his heart. To be honest, he was not furious because of this kneeling, but was very organized and clear about his grudges. Although he is not angry, this revenge must be avenged. He was extremely calm. Ming Long, I completely rely on you. A critical moment. He visualized the mental ape, and in his mind was the unparalleled Monkey King. That divine power is so majestic and unparalleled in the world. Earth Evil Transformation Technique. The so-called 72 transformations do not mean turning into 72 kinds of objects. Instead, there are all kinds of miraculous methods in the sky and the earth, reaching the sky and the earth, going against the sky, going up to the sky and the earth, traveling through the void, and are omnipotent. The so-called body-fixing technique is just one of them. Certainly. Wu Yu blew in, and the magic power condensed into this magical method, which he cast again. The body-holding technique is wonderful, and it can always help Wu Yu at critical moments. During Wu Yu's drills, the body-holding technique often failed, causing huge energy consumption, but in actual combat, this was another success. His target is the Rainbow Ling in neon red. That body-fixing technique can fix everything in the world, not just living creatures. For example, none of the magic weapons and birds can escape. The movement of this magic weapon is the movement of mana in the magic weapon array. It took Wu Yu a while to find the location of the magic weapon array, and only then could he be so bold to use this immobilization technique. In that magic weapon array, there is magic power at the 5th level of Qi condensation realm. Ni Hong Ai is at the 5th level of the Qi condensation realm, 3 levels higher than Wu Yu. The immobilization technique is ineffective, so Wu Yu will turn his target to the magic weapon array. It is impossible to use all the magic power of Ni Hong Ai in the magic weapon array, so there is a certain chance of success. Possible. Buzz. At that moment, Wu Yu could clearly feel that the rainbow caltrip had relaxed a little, allowing him to move. However, this was only a moment. It was obvious that the magic power in the magic weapon array was still powerful, and Wu Yu was not particularly familiar with this heaven-defying technique. However, what Wu Yu wanted was a moment. That moment was when Lan Shuiyu was about to slap him. At this moment, the immobilization technique took effect. Wu Yu took out one hand and instantly reached into the Mi's bag and took out an item. Gathering fire beads. The rainbow caltrip was loose, and Ni Hong Ai was stunned. Wu Yu took out the fire-gathering bead. Zhang Junlin once stored a lot of flames in this fire-gathering bead. Without saying a word, Wu Yu took out the fire-gathering bead inside. The flames all spurted out, and for a moment, the 6 people were enveloped in the raging sea of fire, especially Lan Shuiyu and Susi, who were burned in an extremely embarrassed manner. The formation diagram on the magic weapon is the magic weapon formation. There may be some typos in the previous chapters, so the madman will revise it. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information. /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 96. I don't know where Zhang Junlin collected the fire. It was extremely turbulent and hot. It attacked everyone. Without defense, everyone would be depressed. At this time, Susi could be heard screaming in the sea of fire. Of course, this is not the flame of the red flame soaring talisman, and Elder Shentu will not react. Susi! The disciple in green roared angrily and grabbed Na Susi, and everyone ran out. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow circled M. Call. Finally, the 5 of them escaped from the sea of fire in embarrassment, using several Taoist techniques to protect themselves on the way. Even so, they were still burned in a very embarrassing way. For example, Lan Shuiyu had a lot of his long hair burned off. At this time, his body was burnt black and very ugly. Wu Yu escaped. Chase him. We must catch him. I will cut him into pieces. Lan Shuiyu was furious. To her, before she even started to humiliate the other party, something like this happened. Over there, someone saw the direction in which Wu Yu was fleeing. The disciple in blue and Ni in red were least affected, and they immediately gave chase. Wu Yu was in a hurry to leave and did not use the fire-gathering beads to attack anyone specifically. Therefore, although they were embarrassed, most of them did not suffer major injuries. The disciple in green supported Susi and did not pursue her. Susi's leg was burned, the green-clothed disciple's face was full of mania. Lan Shuiyu took a look and found that half of his thigh was scorched black, and this delicate beauty was crying bitterly. Follow her, I have the hibiscus muscle extract that can help her recover. Lan Shuiyu became even more manic and screamed at the Xingyi disciple. Susi, I'll be right back. The Xingyi disciple then left and handed Susi over to Lan Shuiyu. Lan Shuiyu and the others were not as fast as the 3 in Ni Hong I, so it was useless to catch up. Lan Shuiyu then cursed and helped Susi sit down on the bluestone next to her. She took out a small bottle from the bag with a silent expression and dropped this holy healing product onto Susi's thigh. Why haven't you caught him yet? Lan Shuiyu was in an irritable mood, with a very ugly face, and kept walking in the direction Wu Yu left. It's like getting a piece of fat that ran away as soon as you took a lick. At this time, the fire that gathered the fire beads had gradually dissipated, and the place where they were standing had turned into a piece of charred land. Susi didn't dare to say anything more and looked nervously over there. Naturally, she felt angry in her heart. It was really unlucky to be traumatized like this when she just entered the immortal Fate Valley. A quarter of an hour later. Snap! Lan Shuiyu swung his sword to cut off a thick tree in half, and then split it into pieces. He suddenly turned around and said to Na Susi, you have difficulty moving, so wait here first. Don't walk around. They haven't come back yet. I go over and have a look. Don't. Being alone in this immortal valley would make you a little nervous, not to mention being injured. But as soon as Susi said a few words, Lan Shuiyu disappeared into the grey mist, unable to stop her at all. Lan Shuiyu, who do you think you are? If you weren't a disciple of the Supreme Protector, how could you still be above us? Susi glanced resentfully in the direction she was leaving. Of course, she would not dare to say such words to her face. After all, her Taoist companion had always respected Lan Shuiyu. Hoo. There was a cold air around the clear water pool. Soon Susi felt the bone-chilling cold. There was a faint and eerie sound of wind all around. It was like an evil spirit was crying. There were several venomous snakes on the ground, staring at Susi from a distance. Damn it, I'm going to find them. Susi was a little scared and was about to stand up, but her thigh was still recovering and it was still difficult to move. No, Xuanhuan Valley is so big. If I get lost and they can't find me, that would be terrible. After thinking about it, she decided to stay here. The environment became even colder. Susi shrank and looked anxiously at the direction where everyone was leaving from time to time. Tread. Suddenly, there were footsteps. Back. Susi was overjoyed and excited. She stretched her neck and looked over there. A tall and thin figure walked out of the gray mist, getting closer and closer. In the blink of an eye, the man appeared in Susi's field of vision. Susi was shocked to find that it was an unknown person. She saw that the man was very handsome, the kind that could make women fascinated. Both his behavior and his smile were so eye-catching. It seems to be a perfect work of art created by God. Who are you? Susi didn't know why, her heart was beating fast. Me? What do you think? The other party stepped closer, with a smile that was as refreshing as spring breeze. Susi was intoxicated for a while, and then woke up immediately and said, "There are more than a dozen core disciples, but there is no one like you. You are a monster." After the demons take form and restrain their demonic aura, some demons with terrible methods hide among people and cannot be discovered at all. "Yes, I am a demon," the man said with a smile. Susi remembered that a total of 3 monsters were released into the immortal Fate Valley this time, the most famous being a black bear spirit, a fox monster, and a mackerel monster. The 3 demons were all restrained by the demon fishing pole. "You are a black bear spirit." Susi didn't expect that the black bear spirit in human form would be so handsome. "I encountered a demon. They won't be able to come back in a short time. If I don't use the red flame sky talisman, the demon will definitely hit me hard. I didn't expect that Susi would fail again this time. I'm so unlucky." No matter how unwilling she was, she still quickly took out the red flame soaring talisman and said to the monster, "Don't come up, I'll quit." It is said that the demons who are let in will be rewarded as long as they force the disciples to use the red flame soaring talisman. As she spoke, she activated her magic power and was about to crush the red flame soaring talisman. Whoosh! The scarlet flame soaring talisman actually got into the man's hand. Susi was stunned. She looked at all this in disbelief, not understanding how her opponent took away the red flame soaring talisman. "Tasty." The man was still smiling. He actually put the red flame towering talisman in his mouth, chewed it a few times, and it seemed to be eaten by him. "Eat, eat." Susi's face turned pale. To her, the scene in front of her was simply something that could never happen in the world. The demon actually took away the life-saving red flame talisman and ate it. "Don't scream, I don't like it being too noisy." After the man finished eating, he grinned. The scene was indescribably weird. "Well." Susi trembled all over. She was about to scream, but suddenly she couldn't. The man didn't know when he appeared behind her, covered her mouth with his hand, then stuck out his tongue, licked her neck a few times, and smiled with satisfaction. "It's really delicious." Susi was so frightened that she peed her pants. She didn't understand how this could happen. The demon was tamed, how dare he do this to her? However, Under his control, she couldn't move. Ugh. At this moment, the man's figure moved and in an instant he dragged Susi into the clear water pool. The water splashed and the two of them sank to the bottom of the clear water pool. Boom boom boom. The next moment, the entire cold water in the Bishui pool seemed to be boiling, rolling, roaring and laughing, as if there was a giant beast rolling inside. Of course, this scene only lasted for 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, thick blood rolled out. It spread over the blue water pool, dyeing almost half of the green water pool red. The flowing blood keeps spreading. Puff. The man returned to the shore from the water, his body spotless. He licked the corners of his mouth and said with satisfaction, "Women are still more delicious than men." After walking a few steps, he looked at the blood in the green water pool, frowned slightly, and then opened his mouth. Suddenly, the blood in the green water pool condensed, and finally formed a blood bead in the center, which was swallowed by the man. That way, no one will know she's dead, and I can continue hunting. The man smiled with satisfaction and disappeared into the grey mist. Susi may have forgotten that the 3 demons are all controlled by the demon fishing pole. But he didn't. Susi. Lan Shuiyu chased for a while but found no one. In desperation, she had no choice but to return to Bishuitan first, otherwise, even she herself would be lost. "Where have you gone?" After returning to Bishuitan, she looked around but couldn't find her, and there was no sign of a fight at the scene. In fact, she was not far away. If Susi encountered any trouble, she could hear him just by shouting. This woman is really ignorant. I asked her to wait for a while, but she ran away first. This immortal valley is so dangerous. If you encounter a demon, don't blame me. Lan Shuiyu cursed a few times and sat on the bluestone next to the clear water pool. When she thought of Wu Yu, she felt angry. The pure water swords in her hands continued to strike out with swords, striking the clear water pool and causing waves. Monstrous. Blue water moon. Finally, Wu Yu relied on the grey fog and complex ground environment of the immortal Fate Valley to get rid of the 3 5th-level Qi condensation realms who had been chasing him for a long time. Among them, the one in red clothes chased him the hardest and almost caught Wu Yu several times. If he was caught this time, he would really have no choice but to be bullied, and there would be no other way out. Now, he was hiding in a jungle, breathing heavily, and his eyes were full of evil. I didn't expect that I, Wu Yu, would be forced to kneel down by a little girl today. This is a shameful and humiliating thing that I won't forget for 10 years. Maybe I didn't want to provoke you, but now, I will definitely let you, an unruly woman, taste the pain. Generally speaking, Wu Yu hated internal fighting, and he hated fighting with women even more. But Lan Shuiyu's arrogance broke his bottom line. For the time being, she has 4 people around her to help her. It's difficult to return this insult to her. But I don't believe it in such a huge immortal valley. There is no way. As the saying goes, grudges should be clearly distinguished. If you don't take revenge, you are not a gentleman. Of course, the most important thing is the purpose of this trip, immortal roots. Wu Yu was about to leave. The place was a bit eerie. Poisonous insects were everywhere, and there were spider webs everywhere. If you were not careful, you could hit the spider webs. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. "You, don't leave, okay?" It was a delicate female voice, a voice that made people's hearts melt when they heard it. Wu Yu turned around. Next to him, stood a peerless woman who was admired all over the country. She was dressed in thin clothes, only tulle, and her snow-tender and beautiful skin was looming. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003C/E/U003E/U003C/E/U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng-Qing Yang. Chapter 97. Seeing this woman, Wu Yu understood one word deeply, that is, beauty is a disaster. This woman who suddenly appeared is the most perfect explanation of this word. Wu Yu has read the history of various countries, and among them there is a country that has perished, named Shang Kingdom. The Shang Kingdom fell because its emperor was obsessed with a beautiful and troublesome concubine. That concubine is a demon fox. It can cause the destruction of a country, which shows its beauty. The woman standing behind Wu Yu is such a beauty. Her beauty has a kind of confusion, which is completely different from ordinary women, such as Su Yanli and Lan Shuiyu. Maybe there is no difference in facial features, and there is no difference in body shape, but when combined together, there is a temptation that shakes the soul. It seems that if you don't possess this woman, you will be wasting your wealth and regretting it for the rest of your life. When Wu Yu saw this woman for the first time, he forgot all the women in his heart. He only saw this one person, as if there was only this one woman in the whole world. Historical records record, there are countless fox demons who confuse people's hearts, bring disaster to the country and people due to their beautiful appearance. The most familiar monster to ordinary people is the fox monster. Mortal women are afraid because the fox demon has repeatedly stolen their husbands with their beauty. Mortal men are even more afraid. Once they fall into the trap of the demon and become seduced, their essence will be exhausted and they will age. Of course, there are also men who would rather give their lives for a night of fun with the fox demon. It can be seen that the charm of the fox demon is truly unparalleled in the world. Even though Wu Yu was determined in his heart, he still had trouble breathing when he saw this barely visible yet looming beauty in the grey mist and jungle. "Congratulations, you're just lucky, this is a fox demon," Mingtaki woke up at some point and said gloatingly. The last time the deal failed to be negotiated, she was still not happy. Wu Yu was about to fall into trance, or even be intoxicated, but Minglong's words made him sober up. At this time, the stunning woman was barefooted, her eyes were filled with crystal drops of water, and her eyelashes were trembling slightly. Her charming look made it difficult for people to control themselves and want to love her. "Master, my name is Qian'er, I'm afraid." The fox demon's voice was trembling, but it was beautiful. Every move is charming. Wu Yu took a few steps back, took a deep breath, closed his eyes, not daring to look at the fox demon, and said coldly, "I know you are a demon, don't try to confuse me." Wu Yu learned from Tang Basian that among the three monsters, the black bear spirit had 6 monster essence cores, was the strongest, and was good at fighting. The other 2 have practiced for more than 500 years and have 5 demon essence cores. Among them, the shark monster is good at fighting in the water, while the fox monster is good at charming, and its real killing ability may not be stronger than him. Of course, the fear of the fox demon also lies in its charm. "As long as I'm not charmed, she can't do anything to me," Wu Yu warned himself, but cold sweat broke out on his forehead. It was the first time to face a great demon that was over 100 years old, and also a notorious fox demon. The fatal temptation was really hard to resist. This charm was probably the fox demon's magic. People have Taoism, and demons have magic methods. "Yes, I am a demon, a fox demon." The woman did not deny it. She pressed forward step by step, with a hint of crying in her voice. The voice surrounded Wu Yu's ears. She said, "I have never harmed anyone. As soon as I opened my spiritual wisdom and transformed, I was brought here and locked in the demon suppression tower for 500 years. Only on this day can I appear and see the outside world." She is very pitiful. 500 years, it's so lonely, I just want to find someone to talk to. "I won't hurt you. Anyway, I still have to go back to the demon suppression tower. In these few days, I just want someone to accompany me. Please, master. To be honest, such a crying, lonely, and pitiful voice made Wu Yu tremble in his heart. He seemed to see the pitiful appearance of this fox demon who had been locked alone in the demon suppression tower for 500 years. It was so real. It makes people feel pity, as if they are experiencing it themselves. If you want to talk, go find someone else. I'm very busy. Goodbye. Wu Yu didn't dare to open his eyes to look at her and ran away. Actually, you don't need to be afraid of her. You only need to visualize the mental monkey. Natural evil spirits cannot enter the body. This mere little demon cannot confuse you. The inheritor of the Monkey King Ming Long smacked his lips and said, "Can't she charm me?" When Wu Yu heard this, his heart moved, and he quickly visualized the mental ape. The unparalleled Monkey King in the blazing fire appeared in his mind. He was so energetic that it was like seeing a bright light in the dark night. His soul was pure, as if there was a scorching sun burning above his head. In the fire, no demons or ghosts can get close. Wu Yu opened his eyes and faced the fox demon, only 3 steps away. Sure enough, after visualizing the mental ape, the charming fox demon became an ordinary beautiful woman in his eyes, without the fatal temptation. He breathed a sigh of relief and compared the before and after. Looking at the woman in front of him, he understood even more how terrifying the fox demon's charm was. If it weren't for visualizing the mental ape, I don't know if I would have been able to escape today. Thank you very much, Wu Yu said to Ming Long. You're welcome. Just give me one more god-asking pill, Ming Long chuckled. Don't even think about it. As expected, this money-obsessed dog cannot change his habit of eating shit. I shouldn't have reminded you to let this fox demon suck all the essence and die, leaving you dead in the wilderness, Ming Tong said frantically. Wu Yu automatically blocked her. Since he could resist the charm, he had a plan. They didn't catch me. Lan Shuiyu and the others were still waiting for them at Bishuatan. They were returning at this time. I just happened to lead this fox demon to them. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. If it weren't for this, he could visualize the mental ape and run away long ago. Although it is said that it is never too late for a gentleman to take revenge after 10 years, Wu Yu really couldn't bear the humiliation of kneeling for long, especially with Lan Shuiyu. After thinking of a plan, he threw himself into it, pretending to be attracted, and said to the fox demon, I thought all demons were scary, but I didn't expect your life experience to be so pitiful. Yes, Qian'er lived her whole life alone, never having anyone to accompany her. She spent 500 years in a closed cell in the demon suppression tower. When the fox demon said this, tears welled up in his eyes, which made people want to pity her even more. Wu Yu visualized the ape in his mind and kept his mind close, but he pretended to be intoxicated and said, Can I hug you? Although the relationship seemed to develop a bit fast like this, he guessed that the men who were charmed by the fox demon were generally like this. The fox demon was not afraid of the relationship progressing quickly, they just wanted it to be fast. I am a demon, and you are a righteous disciple. Don't you dislike me? The fox demon looked at him timidly, with a hint of shyness. Disciples of the righteous path are also good and evil, and demons are also good and bad. You are so good looking and must have a kind heart. How can I dislike you? Wu Yu couldn't wait and stretched out his hand to hug her. This hug was like hugging a ball of warm fire. The temperature of his whole body rose sharply. Even if he thought about the mental ape, he almost lost his mind. He was attracted by the fox demon and met her on the spot. Loving. The charm of the fox demon is really scary. Wu Yu didn't believe that the disciples in blue and green could control it. He let go of the fox demon in panic, pretending to be a little more awake, and said, I'm really sorry, I had such unreasonable thoughts, it's really not the behavior of a gentleman. The fox demon secretly said, This person has really strong concentration. She shook her head innocently and said, young master is a gentleman, upright in body and mind, so I can naturally trust him. Besides, Chiener has a shallow body, and it would be Chiener's good fortune if you show affection to him. As she said it, her face turned pale. It's red and really deadly. Well. Wu Yu took a few steps back and said hastily, no, I absolutely don't believe it. I just think you are too lonely and want to accompany you. I absolutely cannot have any inappropriate thoughts. Otherwise, I will walk around this immortal fate valley with you, let's have a heart-to-heart talk, okay? The fox demon secretly said, I didn't expect this person's concentration to be so strong. However, the yang energy in his body is so strong and hot. He is a pure yang body that is rare in thousands of years. If he swallows his yang energy, maybe he can make me add another demon core. Thinking of this, she said, that's fine. Thank you, sir. Anyway, as long as you stay with him, even if the fox demon doesn't believe it, he can control it. Then let's go. Wu Yu kept his mind tight, this was a trick. The fox demon released a kind of charm all the time, tempting Wu Yu to love her. Wu Yu visualized the ape in his mind and resisted several times, and even accelerated his pace towards the clear water pool. Fortunately, the clear water pool was not far away, otherwise I really don't know if I can hold on this way. The fox demon was also anxious and thought to himself, this person may have such strong concentration because of his strong yang qi. I need to work harder. The two seemed to be in love and bestsellers, but in fact they were fighting each other, and the situation was extremely dangerous. Wu Yu almost lost his position several times and pounced on him. Fortunately, Ming Long warned him a few times, which made him sober up. Fortunately, the Bishui pond is close. Susi. Lan Shuiyu was bored when, in the gray mist, the disciples in red, blue, and blue came back at the same time. The disciple in blue noticed at a glance that Susi was gone. Shuiyu, where is Susi? The disciple in Xingyi's heart skipped a beat and he ran up. Lan Shuiyu rolled her eyes and said, how did I know? I gave her medicine. She couldn't walk for less than 100 breaths and couldn't walk 100 meters. After she came back, she disappeared without making any sound. I thought she was looking for her. What about you, didn't you see her? She didn't look for me, the Xingyi disciple suddenly panicked and looked around. Then I don't know. Maybe I didn't find it, Lan Shuiyu said. Shuiyu, didn't you help me take care of Susi? She was injured, how could you leave? The Xingyi disciple was a little angry. Lan Shuiyu sneered and said, that's your Susi, not mine. Do I still have to serve her? I only left for a while and didn't go far. If she was in danger, she would shout, and then if it doesn't work, you can still light the red flame soaring talisman, but that's not the case. She just went to you rashly. What does it have to do with me? I still have to stop her. The disciple in blue patted the disciple in green on the shoulder and said, brother, don't be nervous. This is Immortal Fate Valley, our territory. What else can happen? The worst is that we will be eliminated. We will still have a chance next year. We are ranked first in the Qi condensation realm. Wu Zhong is not in a hurry, so she doesn't need to be in a hurry either. The disciple in Xingyi dared not speak out against Lan Shuiyu. In fact, he was following Zhao Changtian. This time he was ordered by Zhao Changtian to protect Lan Shuiyu. He had no choice but to say, no, I have to go find Susi, please give me some time. She won't go too far and won't be able to find me. She may come back here. The disciples in red clothes and blue clothes were both tired. Among them, Ni Hong-I waved his hand and said, go, don't take too long, we still need to find the immortal root. Lan Shuiyu said, I'll give you half an hour at the end. Go quickly. The Xingyi disciples immediately left, calling Na Susi's name. Wu Yu heard his shout and almost watched him leave here. The remaining two were in the 5th level of Qi condensation realm and Lan Shuiyu. Really, God is helping me. \U003CE \U003E \U003CE \U003F. Follow the official QQ public account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read first, and get the latest information at any time \U003C/E \U003E \U003C/E \U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 98. The disciples in Xingyi left to look for Su Si, so only Ni Hong I, Lan Shuiyu and the disciples in blue were left near the Bishuatan. To the male disciples, the fox demon is scary, but it may be more difficult to charm two people at the same time, but if only the disciple in blue is left, it will be easy. Sir, there are outsiders here, where should we go? The fox demon asked delicately. There is a clear water pool in front of you. The water is rippling and the environment is very good. We will be there. I will accompany you to spend this time, Wu Yu said. Really? Thank you, sir. The fox demon thanked her sweetly, and the look was really overwhelming. Wu Yu could tell that she paid special attention to her because she had cultivated the indestructible body of Vajra. Of course, she didn't pay much attention to the Xingyi disciples in the past. Apparently he was more attracted to her. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at Bishuatan. Who? Ni Hong I discovered them first. Wu Yu. Lan Shuiyu was startled and jumped down from a piece of bluestone. She couldn't believe her eyes. Wu Yu actually came back to seek abuse. This is... The disciples in red clothes and blue clothes noticed the fox demon next to Wu Yu. Too bad, I didn't expect to meet them. They are my enemies and want to kill me. Wu Yu looked nervous and said to the fox demon. Enemy. When the fox demon faced the three of them, his eyes were also changing. He was probably calculating the gains and losses. That's a fox demon. Suddenly, Ni Hong I looked cold and said coldly, revealing the identity of the fox demon. Hearing this, Lan Shuiyu's expression changed drastically. Sure enough, they saw a thin line on the body of the fox demon, which should have been entangled by the demon fishing rod. Each of the three demons knows the whereabouts of a fairy root, Ni Hong I said. Wu Yu didn't know about this news. It might have been leaked by Su Yanli, or it might be this year's new rules. Wu Yu, as a righteous disciple, you actually work with the demon. Lan Shuiyu looked murderous, and she could vaguely feel that the fox demon was so charming. As a woman, she was deeply attracted to it. Wu Yu said, what's wrong with the demon? Qianer is a poor person who has been imprisoned in the demon suppression tower for 500 years. She won't hurt me. She is a kind girl. Unlike you, Lan Shuiyu, who will retaliate and is extremely ugly. You're looking for death. Being called ugly in public, Lan Shuiyu was instantly furious. Shuiyu, he must have been deceived by the fox demon, so he behaved like this. Ni Hong I analyzed calmly and continued, the fox demon has 5 demon essence cores, and its real combat power may not be stronger than mine. I will contain the fox demon. You two take down Wu Yu, and then help me drive away the fox demon. Don't let Wu Yu escape again this time. Because Lan Shuiyu was angry, it was difficult to make a good decision. Ni Hong I helped her. Good. Do it. She wants to take down Wu Yu with the disciple in blue. The disciple in blue is at the 5th level of Qi condensation realm. It is not difficult to take down Wu Yu. If the three of them take action together, the crisis will come again. Lan Shuiyu stared at Wu Yu. Even if he asked Wu Yu to kneel down, she still couldn't get rid of her anger. The head disciple and the protective disciple are old enemies, and with the many grievances they have had recently, it is really hard to let go of their anger. Qianer, I'm finished, can you help me? Mortals are confused by the fox demon, but this time Wu Yu went against the grain and was confusing the fox demon. Originally, he just wanted to attract the fox demon and cause chaos, but this time it was better. The fox demon valued him more, so he had more room to take advantage of her. This group of evil people actually teamed up to bully the young master. Qian'er must help the young master. In order to conquer Wu Yu, the fox demon had to take action. This was a good opportunity. I believe that after this battle, Wu Yu would never be able to escape from her gentle land. Among the three people, only Ni Hong killed the fox demon. Suddenly, the disciple in blue changed his steps, and his target turned into a fox demon. "What are you doing?" Ni Hong was confused. "Help you, take care of the fox demon." The blue-clothed disciple's eyes were red and he stared at the fox demon, showing something strange. "You're charmed, idiot," Ni Hong was furious. "Do you need to care about it?" The disciple in blue actually roared at her. Even though there was no big difference in appearance and even sexier than the majestic and beautiful girl in neon red, the fox demon's charming magic method easily defeated her. Roll. Ni Hong had a blood sword in one hand and a rainbow caltrip in the other. She wanted to drive away the disciple in blue, but the disciple in blue refused to let him go. He gathered with the fox demon and started fighting immediately. However, during the fight, the blue-clothed disciple faltered many times and even blocked the fox demon's attack from the red-clothed disciple. Wu Yu naturally understood that this gamble was successful. Even if the Tsingyi disciple is still there, he will be confused by the fox demon. Not only will he be unable to become a fighting force, but he will also hinder Ni Hong. A rare opportunity. At this time, he was facing Lan Shuiyu by himself. Lan Shuiyu's red lips trembled with anger. Although she was facing Wu Yu alone, there was no reason to be afraid. She drew out her magic weapon, the swords of clear water, and it was as if she was holding two long rivers. She was fighting Wu Yu head-on for the first time. The body-holding technique. In order to instantly subdue the opponent, Wu Yu did not hesitate to spend his mana and used the immobilization technique. Call. He threw himself on Lan Shuiyu's face. Lan Shuiyu was stunned for a moment, but there was no movement at all. Holy crap, it's not working. This was the first time Wu Yu failed to use the body-holding technique during a battle. It was a mistake. I told you, it's impossible for you to succeed every time you use the methods of a god, Ming Long gloated. This chapter is not over yet, please click the next page to continue reading. Wu Yu stepped back and looked back. The disciples in red and blue were entangled by the fox demon. They couldn't get away at all, let alone pose any threat to the fox demon. Although he consumed a lot of mana, he was very calm. Great heavenly immortal technique. The biggest advantage of this Qi condensation technique is that yin and yang are interdependent, and it operates quickly. The speed of mana regeneration is far beyond that of ordinary people, especially under the influence of the spiritual fountain. The spiritual energy of the immortal valley has also increased greatly. Wu Yu, don't run away if you have the guts. For about 20 breaths, Wu Yu was suppressed by Lan Shuiyu and could only dodge and flee, and he was in danger several times. It was not until his mana was restored that Wu Yu tightened the demon suppressing stick. Earth Core Dragon. When retreating, Wu Yu pinched the magic formula with his hands and penetrated the ground. The ground exploded, and the sand and gravel rolled, as if a dragon was drilling in the ground and rushing towards Lan Shuiyu. This is a Taoist technique in the 9 dragons coiling pillar technique. Ice Sword. Lan Shuiyu sneered, and her white long legs appeared and disappeared in the fluttering sword robe. Her proud little chest also had a beautiful trajectory in the air, which was also moving, but Wu Yu hated her stinky face. When the Earth Core Dragon suddenly rose, she stabbed the ground with a sword, and suddenly the ground within a radius of 3 feet was frozen by ice, and the charred rocks became crystal ice sculptures. A trifle. Lan Shuiyu sneered. Really? Wu Yu held the demon subduing stick in his hand. At this time, his magic power was finally enough, and he wanted to fight quickly. Immortal Ape Transformation. In front of the petite Lan Shuiyu, Wu Yu's body suddenly changed, rising and sturdy, like a golden giant beast, standing in front of Lan Shuiyu. In front of Wu Yu, Lan Shuiyu was just a delicate little white rabbit, while Wu Yu was a giant bear. Violent, irritable, and barbaric. The fairy ape showed up, and the fox demon not far away was delighted. Wu Yu's form was more yang, and it was more attractive to her. Dead beast, what's the use of being big? Eat my water whale. Water whale is a Taoist art. Lan Shuiyu's two swords danced wildly, and the angry water array on the Qingshui double swords flashed fiercely under the infusion of mana. In its dance, it seemed as if there was an endless sea around it. The two swords suddenly appeared and turned into two giant whales, rushing out of the sea, and hitting Wu Yu with terrifying force. That was Lan Shuiyu's sword cultivation technique. She was very confident. Wu Yu said nothing. The golden ape rushed forward violently, waving the demon-suppressing stick in his hand, and the fire formation burned. When the magic power was infused, coupled with the huge strength of the flesh, it was unprecedentedly terrifying. Dragon coiled pillar. Outside the green water pond, the dragon roared, and a dragon coiled around the demon-suppressing stick, spinning a few times. Under the explosive force of Wu Yu's Vajra indestructible body and the magic power of the great heavenly immortal technique, the two merged into one, and the dragon and the giant whale violently killed each other. Bang! In the head-on collision, Wu Yu's Vajra indestructible body and magic power, coupled with the fierce Taoist technique of 9 dragons coiled pillar, were indeed better. Water, the softest. However, Lan Shuiyu had a hot temper and chose to confront Wu Yu head-on. Even if the Qingshui double swords were powerful, her water whale still exploded. In the fight, she groaned, and her two swords flew out of her hands, and her internal organs were horribly impacted by Wu Yu's magic power and physical strength. She flew backwards and hit a blue stone beside the green water pond, which exploded. Shuiyu. I didn't expect Lan Shuiyu to lose to Wu Yu in this head-on battle, but the trouble was that the fox demon seduced the blue-clothed disciples, and now almost 2 people attacked her alone. No matter how anxious she was in danger for a while and couldn't help Lan Shuiyu at all. Whoosh! Wu Yu kicked the Qingshui double swords away. Even if Lan Shuiyu had the sword control technique, he couldn't recall the magic weapon so effectively. At this time, Lan Shuiyu had just climbed up from the ground with a miserable face, and the blue sword robe was stained with a lot of wet mud. Snap! After Wu Yu's transformation into a fairy ape, she was like a little girl, only up to Wu Yu's chest. At this time, her internal organs were injured, her magic power was disordered, and she was dizzy. Wu Yu used the great strength of his body to reach out and pinch her delicate neck, lifted her up, and pressed her against the mountain wall. For a while, Lan Shuiyu had difficulty breathing and struggled violently. However, in terms of her physical body, she was indeed like a little white rabbit in front of Wu Yu. When he got close, Wu Yu easily held her down. His majestic body squeezed her against the mountain wall, almost crushing her. If you move again, I will break your neck. I dare to kill Situ Ming Lang, but I may not dare to kill you. Wu Yu was in the image of a rough ape at this time, looking evil. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ public account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read first, and get the latest information at any time. /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng-Qing Yang. Chapter 99. After the immortal ape transformation, Wu Yu was almost completely similar to the unparalleled Monkey King in the mental ape visualization. This was no ordinary ape. Those sun-like eyes, sharp teeth, and violent face could be a nightmare for anyone. Lan Shuiyu was defeated in the battle and was now pressed against the mountain wall. The opponent's terrifying strength made her unable to move. She was originally preparing to curse, but was shocked by Wu Yu's words and strength. Swallowed. Her face was pale and she looked at Wu Yu with some trembling. To be honest, this was the first time she felt afraid of Wu Yu. "You, what do you want?" she said in panic, and at the same time glanced at Ni Hongii with the corner of her eyes. What made her even more desperate was that Ni Hongii was joined by the fox demon and the disciple in blue, and she couldn't care about it, let alone save her. She could only suppress all her anger deep in her heart. At this time, she was really afraid that Wu Yu would kill her. He really didn't hesitate at all when he killed Situ Ming Lang. Moreover, the violent evil aura now was really terrifying. Wu Yu's eyes were burning, less than a slap away from her delicate face, and the fire was about to rush to Lan Shuiyu's body. Wu Yu said one word at a time, "I have always been reasonable. You are provoking me in the Tao Pagoda. I offended you with my words. Although there is a reason, it is not my fault. In front of everyone in Duobao Valley, it's also an apology to you. As long as you and I have a clear attitude, the rumors will eventually go away. At this time, we should be even. After all, it was you who started it. But you shouldn't have forced me to kneel down for you and humiliated me here in Xuanhuan Valley. If I hadn't escaped, you would have tortured me in every possible way, and even wanted me to regret it for the rest of my life. The contradiction between us is nothing. Goiyuma, just for kneeling down, I have to make you pay the price." For Lan Shuiyu, it was really scary when Wu Yu told him his principles and rules in an indifferent manner. Wu Yu, I was wrong, I shouldn't." Lan Shuiyu was a woman after all, and she was so frightened at this time that she quickly begged for mercy. "Of course, what I was thinking about was, don't fall into my hands, Lan Shuiyu, next time. You are going to cut off my life, is there any use in apologizing?" Wu Yu sneered. He didn't want Lan Shuiyu to kneel down for him. Just kneeling down was nothing to Lan Shuiyu. He and Lan Shuiyu have different inner self-esteem points. At this moment, Wu Yu's other hand directly pressed Lan Shuiyu's head. His palm was so huge that it almost covered her little face. Then he suddenly pushed his head down and faced Lan Shuiyu. The little mouth kissed her roughly and violently, and Lan Shuiyu made a whining sound, but she couldn't push Wu Yu away. After a few breaths, Wu Yu raised his head. Lan Shuiyu looked at him blankly as if he was dumbfounded, as if the whole world had collapsed. "I was too lazy to be your enemy before, but now I have reached this point. No matter what tricks you come up with in the future or who you find to take revenge on me, I, Wu Yu, will follow. If you want to fight with me until death, I will accompany you. Just let's see who has the last laugh. I, Wu Yu, have provoked you and humiliated you today. How do you want to find out?" The revenge was avenged. He reached out and pulled out the bag of rice from Lan Shuiyu's waist, put it in his hand and said, "I confiscated the contents inside. There are always a few qi condensing pills in it, and now that I am in urgent need of them, since the other party has provoked me, there is no harm in taking them away. Wu Yu." Lan Shui was robbed of her first kiss, and it was such a rough experience. She was afraid she would never forget it in her life. Looking at Wu Yu now, she could only feel confused. "Do you regret it now?" Wu Yu was too lazy to serve her. There were too many such arrogant women in the palace. Without treatment, she would not calm down and would always cause trouble. She was not worthy of pity at all. Snap! Wu Yu just threw her into the clear water pool. It's time to go. If he didn't leave, the fox demon and Ni Hong I might catch him. Seeing that Wu Yu had defeated his opponent, the fox demon was overjoyed and said, "Sir, wait for me for a moment and I will finish them off." "Okay, I'll wait for you." Wu Yu grinned, and his revenge was avenged. The fox demon was so terrifying, and he would be a fool if he stayed with her. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and ran away. The grey fog here was so heavy that Ni Hong I and the fox demon had a stalemate, and he didn't know how far he ran away. "Master!" The fox demon gave up the fight and quickly chased after him. Suijutsu. Only then did Ni Hong I get a chance to breathe, and quickly went to Bishuatan to save Lan Shuiyu, who was like a drowned dog. What's going on?" The disciple in blue looked at all this in shock. "You, get out of here," Ni Hong I almost made the blue-clothed disciple angry to death. If it weren't for his existence, it wouldn't be like this at all. When Lan Shuiyu was fished out, she was a little confused. "Wu Yu, you will definitely die this time." Ni Hong I was furious and looked at the direction Wu Yu left. This transfer took a full day. Wu Yu was worried that the fox demon would find him again, so he ran very fast through the maze-like fairy valley. One day later, he found a dark cave in the underground space of a deep valley. It was secluded enough, so he hid it. There are too many fifth-level chi condensation realms in this immortal valley, and the three-headed monsters are so terrifying. If I want to get the immortal root, my strength is still too weak. I must get the immortal root this year, otherwise I will waste a lot of time waiting until next year. So, I need to build up my strength. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. He took Lan Shuiyu's bag of rice just to get some chi condensing pills. The competition in this immortal valley is not too much, competing for the chi condensing pill. She asked me to kneel down, and I just turned the fake into real and kissed her. After all, she earned it. Wu Yu opened the bag of me, and soon discovered that there were 8 chi condensing pills inside, as well as some healing medicines, fairy spirits, some talismans, 2 magic weapons, and the rest were his daughter's personal clothes. Forget it, just take the chi condensing pill and return the rest to her. Wu Yu took the chi condensing pill away and left the others in Miji's bag. This Lan Shuiyu must have more chi condensing pills, but she didn't bring them with her. Her master is different from my master. He doesn't care about fairness and wants to pile all the spiritual resources on her. He sat cross-legged in the cave, holding his breath and concentrating. It would be great if we could condense the Dharma source of the Shenman point. In fact, because he cultivated the indestructible body of Vajra, he was able to open the source of magic at a speed unimaginable by ordinary people in the chi-condensing immortal root realm. For example, the first 2 magic sources were opened one after another using the chi-condensing pill. If anyone else dared to use the chi-condensing pill like him, they would probably have exploded and died. The spiritual energy of the Bibo Mountains has increased. In the past few months, I have also consumed some chi-condensing pills, and the magic source of Shenman Point has been condensed for less than half. It was originally expected that the third source of magic would be achieved in half a year, but Wu Yu was a little impatient to wait. You know, for other people, one magic source for half a year is simply a godlike speed, unprecedented. After all, they don't have the indestructible magic method like Wu Yu. But Wu Yu understood that without the second level of the indestructible god, his strong progress would probably come to an end. For example, now, he would not be able to continue refining the chi condensing pill. The power of the chi condensing pill, but it's quite fierce. Refining. He swallowed a chi condensing pill and started refining it. After all, it's not the first time, and it can be considered a familiar road. The power of the chi condensing pill converged on the 2 Shenman points. Wu Yu put his hands together to form a complete mana vortex. You can see the mana condensed solidly, flowing on the palms of his hands like running water. Okay, second one. After digesting one chi condensing pill, he prepared the second one. This time it was a little difficult to control. If he couldn't bear it, at least his arms would explode. After the end, it is estimated that it will still take 2 months before the source of the law is truly formed. It is still impossible for Wu Yu to rush to the third level of chi condensation realm in this immortal fate valley. In the final analysis, it still lacks the second level of indestructible body. If there is a second level of the Vajra indestructible body, then my cultivation speed in the chi condensation realm will continue to improve with the improvement of the Vajra indestructible body. I only need to obtain the chi condensation pill, and the basic level is faster than that of ordinary people. Even more stable. The indestructible body of Vajra is in Minglong's mouth. Have you decided to conclude this deal with my aunt? Na Minglong followed the temptation. He, the conditions I proposed are nothing, they are very cheap. If I were to have others do things for me before, I would not give them this peerless method, the #1 body training method in the world, Mingtaki continued. Wu Yu thought for a moment. Let's talk about it later. Otherwise, he couldn't owe Minglong too much. He held the demon subduing stick, visualized the mental ape in the cave, and waved the magic stick. He wondered if it was possible that he could recall the second level. Back then, he had read the 10,000-word, complete version of the indestructible body. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information /U003C/E /U003E /U003C/E /U003E. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 100. Back then I used up all my strength and used many methods on the Ruyi Golden Cudgel before I finally obtained the Inner Vajra Buddha method. Just by your wild imagination here, can you get it? Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Minglong dismissed Wu Yu's persistence and hard thinking. Hey, silly monkey, you should do this business with Grandma and me. I only give you this face because we are both descendants of the great sage. Ming Tong appeared in front of him. The child, who was less than 10 years old, had an ancestor's expression, which was quite cute. I'm a human, not a monkey. Wu Yu stood in the cave and reached out to hold one end of the demon subduing stick. The other end of the magic weapon was stationary on the ground, inserted into the soil. He closed his eyes and concentrated, imagining the demon subduing stick as the Ruyi Golden Cudgel. The body of Vajra is indestructible. After it is completed, it can penetrate the sky and the earth, kill 8,000 heavenly palaces, and break through 10,000 hells. Bronze head and iron bones, the body is like 10,000 gold, no weapon of the gods can harm the body, no immortal calamity of heaven can destroy the body, no one in the sky or on the earth can die or be destroyed. The once deafening sound echoed in Wu Yu's ears again, leaving him deaf-end. In my heart, the tens of thousands of words that appeared on the Ruyi Golden Cudgel seemed to appear again. Although that scene was in a dream, Wu Yu would never forget it in his life. Whenever I imagine, I can see myself going back to the time before the Golden Optimus Prime. On it, there are tens of thousands of densely packed golden characters, and each character is like a complex magic circle. Unfortunately, only the first 1,000 words and the next 9,000 words are clear. No matter how hard Wu Yu tried to read them, they were still vague and mysterious. Every word seems to contain endless mysteries. Time passed bit by bit, and Wu Yu couldn't help but frown. As time goes by, it is possible that the immortal roots will become less and less, and the opportunities left to oneself will also become less and less. Where is the Ruyi Golden Cudgel inside my body? I searched all over my body, but I couldn't find any trace of the divine object. One stick to reach the gods. Immortal ape transformation. Visualize the mental ape. He is doing all three processes. Only when these three processes are going on, can he feel the existence of the Ruyi golden cudgel more clearly. Visualize the unparalleled monkey king among the mental apes, burning in flames, soaring to the sky, with his red cloak spreading for 30,000 miles. A pair of eyes, hanging in the sky, is like a scorching sun, shining on millions of miles of mountains and rivers. With a loud roar, the sky collapsed and the earth shattered, the moon fell and the stars sank. One stick can reach the gods, and the other can reach the gods. Will you imagine the demon-subduing stick as a wish-fulfilling golden cudgel? If he were the unparalleled Monkey King, how should he use it? 3 days passed. Although he was focused, he still had no results. It is difficult for ordinary people to carry out such boring persistence. Most people would probably just choose to trade with Ming Long. After all, that would be a matter for the future. And if they really could become immortals, they wouldn't be too lazy to bother with Ming Long and use it first. But Wu Yu doesn't. He has moral principles in his heart, and he doesn't want to commit to something he can't do. Of course, years of experience on the battlefield told him that if you covet the immediate advantage, you will eventually pay the price. He was still comprehending and thinking hard, trying to see clearly what the vague words were. Inner Vajra Buddha. Suddenly I remembered that Ming Tong seemed to have accidentally said these words before. Buddha, what is it? He has never heard this word before, so he doesn't know how to write it. He understands the Inner Vajra. Inner Vajra Buddha, this second level of the Dharma of the indestructible body is called Inner Vajra Buddha. These 5 words seem to have a magical power, attracting Wu Yu. He couldn't help but read silently. Inner Vajra Buddha. At one time, I must have recited it more than 100 times. While reciting the 5 words, I also visualized the mental ape at the same time, but my eyes were focused on the demon-subduing stick in my hand. Buzz. He didn't know how many times he recited it, but suddenly his heart was shocked. He saw the picture of the giant pillars of the sky again, and even saw the tens of thousands of words about the indestructible body. Still, only the first 1,000 words were clear. Could the next 5 words be Inner Vajra Buddha? He stared at the first 5 words, which were temporarily blurred. Wu Yu concentrated his mind and imagined in his mind how to turn these 5 words into the Inner Vajra Buddha. Boom! When he silently recited the Inner Vajra Buddha in front of these 5 words, it seemed as if the whole world was enveloped in golden light, and his heart was shocked for a moment. An incredible thing happened, that is, the first, fuzzy 5 words became clear. It's really, 5 words of Inner Vajra Buddha. It turns out that the word Buddha means Buddha. Before seeing it, Wu Yu didn't know how to write this character. In fact, what really surprised Wu Yu was that not only 5 words became clear, but 7, and 2 vague words also became clear. Reciting sutras. The 6th and 7th words are chanting. Inner Vajra Buddha chanting sutra. This still made Wu Yu confused. Do you want me to read it out? Previously, Wu Yu had always read silently. Thinking of this, he opened his mouth and chanted, Inner Vajra Buddha chanting sutra, ah. When he read the last word, his face turned pale, and a sharp pain hit him, almost making him collapse. When he was reciting those 7 words, something like this actually happened. That is, every time a word is recited, a golden word is suddenly born inside the body. After reciting 7 words, the 7 golden words Inner Vajra Buddha chanting sutra appear in the body. The scary thing is, each of these words was like a blade. After being formed, it hit Wu Yu's bones, flesh and blood, internal organs, and even his brain. What this brings is severe pain. Bang bang bang. The golden text shattered inside the body, and at the same time it also dealt a blow to Wu Yu's internal organs, almost tearing his flesh, bones, and flesh. It hurts. The previous forging of flesh, muscle, bones, acupoints, internal organs, and other organs was not so terrifying. However, Wu Yu discovered two things next. First, after the words were smashed into pieces, they turned into golden rain and melted into Wu Yu's damaged muscles, bones, flesh and blood, allowing the injured parts to regenerate and recover. This process is similar to forging. Second, after reading these 7 words, the next 3 words became clear from blur. It is very likely that as long as Wu Yu continues to read, all the other words will appear, and the second level of the indestructible body he wants will be obtained. Now, Minglong was anxious. Impossible, how could you get this inner Vajra Sutra by yourself so quickly? How did you know to recite it? After hearing what she said, Wu Yu smiled. He was convinced that he had found a way. Obviously, the more I recite, the following words will appear one after another. Although these words will appear in my body, for me, it is a kind of forging and regeneration, and my indestructible body will become stronger. Chanting sutras is the second essence of the indestructible body. Wu Yu is overjoyed. I longed for it for a long time and finally got it. Impossible, you, Mingtong stamped his feet angrily, and the cooked duck actually flew away. Wu Yu didn't want to tell her that it was the words inner Vajra Buddha she said that reminded him, otherwise the money-crazed man might have to collect debts. Grandma is so angry that I will braise you, steam you, cut you into pieces and eat you. Seeing Wu Yu obtain the second level of the indestructible body like this, but he didn't get any advantage, he couldn't bear to accept it. Wu Yu knew that time was running out, so he ignored her and sat down cross-legged. He was prepared to endure the horrific pain and began to recite the 3 new words that appeared. Bodhi. Build the Buddha's body. Xuanhuan Xin. Every time a word is spoken, a golden text will appear in the body, in the internal organs, in the head, or in the flesh and bones of the hands and feet. Although the golden text is not big, it is like a beast with sharp claws. It tore and collided inside Wu Yu's body, causing a bloody mess. This is a terrible pain, especially when there may be several beasts at once. However, how can it not be painful to practice Taoism against heaven? The road to immortality is far away. How can I become an immortal if I can't even withstand the forging of this Qi condensation realm? Now, Wu Yu's only goal is to become an immortal. Mortals will eventually die, only immortals can live forever. If you don't become an immortal, what will you do to become an immortal? He is determined and nothing can influence him. In this way, as he recited the scripture, more and more golden words appeared in his body, killing and tearing at will. After completing the mission, they turned into golden brilliance, nourishing Wu Yu's flesh and blood. Let the broken parts experience new life, and then it will be even harder. As the saying goes, nothing can be made without hard work. The Inner Vajra Sutra is a kind of forging in Wu Yu. Of course, this is not something that most people can afford. As expected, as he continued to read, the following words appeared one after another. When Wu Yu persisted and endured for 200 words, from the outside, his body was glowing with a faint golden light. Through his skin, he could faintly see the golden scriptures flowing in his body. Wherever he went, there were even bones can be torn. But Wu Yu just gritted his teeth and frowned. Hang on. We must obtain the immortal root here, we cannot waste a year. There are too many strong people on this immortal road. Wu Yu has just started and is still weak, so he has a lot of insecurities. He actually understood the real horror of this inner Vajra Buddha. The second level of the indestructible Vajra body is called the inner Vajra Buddha. It can be forged by reciting the sutra. This sutra treats all the muscles, bones, flesh, etc. inside my body as a huge rock. With the sutra sculpture, cut off the edges and corners, solidify the roots, and finally carve a so-called Buddha statue. The name of the Buddha statue is the inner Vajra Buddha. The inside becomes extremely strong, and it appears on the outside of the body, which is really incredible and terrifying. You could already roughly see what the inner Vajra Buddha looked like. Sacred, majestic, and indestructible. All things are inviolable. The golden light shrouded the inside of Long Chen's body. The Vajra Buddha inside was immortal, and Wu Yu would not die. Fight the outside with the inside. The inner Vajra Buddha cannot be seen or touched, but it exists in Wu Yu's body and flesh. This inner Vajra Buddha Sutra has a total of 6 levels. After completing the first level, the invisible inner Vajra Buddha will be 1 foot high. Each time it rises to a level, it will rise 1 foot to a complete state. The inner Vajra Buddha within the body will be at 6 feet tall, which is more than 10 times my height. It is unimaginable that a 6-foot tall towering Buddha exists in the body. How hard and domineering is his body? Brothers, please pay attention to Madman's QQ Quokka public account. Open Quokka QQ, click on Contacts, click on the public account in the upper right corner, and search for Fengqing Yang. Just pay attention. Don't follow the tribe. Madman's daily updates will be posted on the QQ official account. /U003CE /U003E /U003CE /U003F. Follow the official QQ account 17K, ID, Love 17K, read early, and keep abreast of the latest information. /U003C /E /U003E /U003C /E /U003E